What's up guys? Today I'm going to be reviewing and doing a few mini tutorials using the Colourpop Honey palette. A couple weeks back I actually made a video about my favorite yellow shadows and complained that there weren't nearly enough out there, and then maybe a week, probably almost to the day, Colourpop announced their Honey palette, an entirely yellow palette in what seems to be a rainbow palette series they've been coming out with. So today I want to show some swatches, share my thoughts, and then walk you through 4 looks, including the one I'm wearing today, using this palette just to give you a sense for how dynamic it can be. So let's go ahead and get started. So I want to get real basic to start in case, like me, you are totally new to this palette format from Colourpop. It has a square plastic exterior, a nicely sized mirror on the inside, and then it's a 9-pan shadow palette. Technically, there's a pressed glitter in here too, which I'm pretty crazy about. Let's go through the shades in the top row. First up is Stinger. This is a light yellow-based cream shade. Then next up is Sunburst, which is this gorgeous shimmery yellow shadow with a soft blue-purple iridescent shift. And then on the end you have Sweet Spot, which is this bright, bold, matte canary yellow. Moving on to the next row, first up is the shade Dandy. This is a super high shine, shimmery, borderline metallic, sunshiny yellow. Then in the middle is Palooza. This is the pressed glitter. And in the pan, it looks way less complex than it actually appears, I think, when you swatch it. At some angles it looks bright yellow, at some angles it looks orange, and then at some it has like this interesting blue-green tinge to it. It's absolutely beautiful and reminds me a lot of the Dear Katie Brown glitters I recently reviewed here on the channel. Like super similar in terms of format, low mess. When it comes to fallout anyway, I mean, it's a glitter, so I'm still probably wearing it from yesterday, even though I totally removed it. It sticks around with you, but I really love the pressed glitter format. And then at the end there is Queen Bee, which is another really metallic shade, but is more of a bronze yellow. Then moving on to the last row, it's an entire row of mattes. There's Totally Buggin', which is a mid-tone camel shade with a really strong yellow undertone. Next is Oh Behave, and that's more of a mustardy yellow, especially compared to the bright canary yellow Sweet Spot I talked about earlier. And then last up is Buzzkill. This is the deepest shade in the palette, and it's actually not that deep. It's more like a medium deep-ish taupe with warm yellow undertones. So overall, the shadow quality here is great, whether I'm talking about mattes, the iridescent duochromes, the shimmers slash metallics. They're all very soft, finely milled, very easy to blend, and pigmented. Yellow can be a tricky color, and so I was kind of expecting at least one dud in here, just something to be patchy or chalky or something. None. All of these perform really beautifully. I also love that there's a mixture of textures here. You know I love a good texture just because I feel like mixing them, whether it's a matte and a shimmer or an iridescent duochrome glitter, I feel like just the simple mixing of textures can make a look seem so much more complicated than it actually was to apply. So I really appreciate that they did that in this palette too. The one thing that I was worried about, and honestly in my mind is still a little bit of a shortcoming of this palette, is the lack of contrast. Like I mentioned before, Buzzkill is as deep as it gets in this palette, and although it's a gorgeous shade, I think it would have been nice to have something, or a shade or two, a little bit deeper in this palette to really play off shades like Sunburst, which is this duochromatic shade, to really pull that, you know, blue-purple shift forward, or Palooza, the glitter, to really make some of those undertones shift a little bit differently over a deeper base. And especially considering shades like Stinger and Totally Buggin' are so similar. I mean, they're very different in the pan, but pretty similar when you apply them to the eye. I would have preferred swapping one of those shades out in favor of a much deeper shadow or even a much lighter shadow, because Stinger, while it is nice for a soft crease shade, I don't think it's going to be a highlight shade. And I know it's easy to look at this and say there's not a whole lot of contrast, which is why I wanted to do a few looks with this before giving a full review. So like I said, I have 4 looks that I want to walk you through and kind of let you know my thoughts behind them. The first one I could not wait to dig into the shade Dandy. So I did like a bright yellow look right off the bat with this guy. I first took Totally Buggin' and blended that through the crease. Then I took Sweet Spot and applied that in my outer corner slash pretty broadly across the lid. And then I went in with Dandy and applied that to my inner corner and the rest of the way across my lid, just to give it a really bright, bold, sunny yellow look to it. And I really love how that turned out. Then I wanted to see just how much Queen Bee differed from Dandy Dandy, because with pretty much all of these shades, I was so surprised at how yellow they pulled when actually applied to the lid. And I know I shouldn't be surprised, I mean this is a yellow palette, but so many of them when I expected to pull more brown or taupe like Totally Buggin' or Buzzkill, they came off much more yellow on my skin than I anticipated. So I wanted to see, you know, in using totally different shades, how different could I get this look? So for the next look, I used Stinger in my crease. Then I went in with Oh Behave in the outer corner. Then I went in with Queen Bee across the lid. And this is actually the look that I was wearing in my recent Almay lipstick swatch video. For those of you who are asking, if you are curious, maybe they look more dramatically different on camera, or maybe it's because I applied them a day apart, so it was hard to really compare the two. But honestly, when I used Queen Bee, I thought it looked pretty similar to using Dandy. Like Queen Bee, even though it looks bronze relative to all the other shades in the pan here, when it was on my eye, again, I thought it pulled very yellow gold, which of course is to be expected. But in the end, I felt like it ended up looking very similar to Dandy because of that. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I don't know that I would say these looks are all that different. Maybe if you're really shy to yellow right now and so you're just looking for a way to dip your toe into this color, Queen Bee would be a good place to start before you go full on Dandy, but honestly, I didn't feel like it was that big of a difference. Then the next look I created had to go in with the glitter, and I kept this one super simple. I just applied Totally Buggin' in the crease and then used my finger to pop Palooza all over the lid. And while I didn't experience any fallout in application, over the course of the day, I did notice a little bit more fallout in my outer corner area, like kind of on the high points of my cheeks, a little bit more fallout there than I do with the Dear Katie brown shadows. If you're looking for long-term wear with these, I would definitely use a glitter glue as a base, but besides that, totally love the fact that this glitter is in this palette for just a little bit of added sparkle. And last is the look that I'm wearing today. Again, another super simple look, but to see just how much, you know, in the other direction, how much contrast I could get out of this palette, I went in with Buzzkill all over the lid and up through the crease. Like I applied it everywhere I thought I should. And then I just went in with the shade Sunburst over top, using my finger to put it in, really build up that pigment to see how strong you can get that shift. And again, I just wish there was a shade that was a little bit deeper in here to make those other colors in Sunburst pop. I love the look it created, but feel like the addition of, you know, a lighter or a deeper shade could have just added a little bit more versatility in there. And now all of this is not to say these are the only 4 looks you can create with this palette. This is only limited by my creativity. So definitely look for some other people who have done tutorials using this palette to see what this palette can do. But I really tried to use, you know, as many different shades and every different combination I could to see the range of looks I could create. And that is the one downside, maybe, depending on what you're looking for in a palette, is that your shade or your looks might be a little limited with this palette. At the end of the day, I'm not complaining because a whole palette of yellows is literally what I asked for. And there are some beautiful shades in here that I do think are really unique, like Palooza and Sunburst, and Oh Behave, like a really good matte mustard color. Like some of these are just so, or even Sweet Spot, even though it doesn't look very unique, it's a bright matte yellow that isn't chalky and patchy when you apply it. So overall, good things to say about this palette. I just did want to point out that there might be some limitations there in terms of range of looks. So those are my thoughts, those are my swatches, and those are all the looks that I did with this palette. Obviously more to come. I plan on using this so much because the weather to me just calls for bright, bold yellow looks. But let me know what you guys think. What do you think of these swatches? Did you pick it up for yourself? Share your thoughts, please, in the comment section below. That's it. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.